Good morning. My name is John Brocker. I'm glad to be here with you on this Easter morning to share in the History of Religions and New Thought Adult Education class. And today we're going to be talking about self-compassion and mindfulness. And we're going to do this for the next 2 weeks. And I invite you to, during the time that we spend, that you may want to get some paper and a pencil or pen or computer or whatever, you might want to keep some notes because I'm going to share a fair amount of information that you might find to be helpful to possibly practice through the weeks between. We're going to start with a poem by George Herbert. Love bade me welcome, yet my soul drew back, guilty of dust and sin. But quick-eyed love, observing me grow slack, from my first embrace in, drew nearer to me, sweetly questioning if I'd lacked anything. A guest, I answered, worthy to be here. Love said, you shall be he. I? The unkind, ungrateful? Oh, my dear, I cannot look on thee. Love took my hand and smiling did reply, who made the eyes but I? Truth, Lord, but I have marred them. Let my shame go where it doth deserve. And know you not, says love, who bore the blame? My dear, then I will serve. You must sit down, says love, taste my meat. So I did sit and eat. And the emphasis by that poem, written back in the 17th century, is that all that's needed for compassion, self-compassion, is to be present. So what we're going to talk about next couple of weeks is derived a lot from a lot of Buddhist concepts and practices. And it was picked up on by a number of psychologists who started doing research on compassion, self-compassion. And a number of psychologists, such as Kristen Neff, Sharon Salzberg, Tara Brach, Jack Kornfield, just to mention a few, have been active in researching the impact of both mindfulness meditation and self-compassion on how people do and how people feel about themselves and how they function. So there have been many outcome studies done in the last 20 years, and there's quite a bit of data out there. So what I'm going to be talking about is based on a lot of that research and data that's been done in the last 20 years. I'm going to start talking some about just some core concepts. And self-compassion, it's one of those things that's I think we all struggle with. the difficulty sometimes of even taking a compliment from somebody else, and it seems even doubly weird when we try to do the same thing to ourselves. It's not something that is in a lot of our comfort zone. Certainly not something that I grew up learning from my parents when I was growing up at home. So the some of the concepts, the elements of self-kindness includes self-compassion, common humanity, the sense, the whole idea that we're all experiencing something very similar in our human experience. The suffering, the joys, the difficulties, and also the basic desire that we all kind of want similar things. We all want basically the same thing. There's differences, but there's this core group, this need for belonging, this need for acceptance, for respect. And then third, there's self-compassion, common humanity, and then mindfulness. And we'll get a little more into mindfulness later on. The one of the other concepts, or maybe better to call it more like misconceptions, is that sometimes people get confused between the concept of self-esteem, or it has been called self-concept as well, but self-esteem versus self-compassion. So self-esteem is the positive evaluation of self-worth. Self-compassion isn't a judgment on an evaluation at all. So it's a non-judgment. Instead, self-compassion is a way of relating to the ever-changing landscape of who we are with kindness and acceptance, especially when we fail or we feel inadequate. So it's the difference is that we're not saying how great we are. We're just saying that we're human, real, imperfect, and that's the way that's the way we were designed. Self-esteem requires feeling better than others, and self-compassion requires acknowledging that we are all imperfect. Compared with self-esteem, self-compassion is less contingent on conditions like physical attractiveness or successful performance, and provides a more stable sense of self-worth over time. It is also linked to less social comparison and narcissism than self-esteem is. The next concept that I wanted to address is the physiological or the physiology of self-criticism and self-compassion. So one of the things that we know is that when people are engaging in the act of self-criticism or self-deprecating thoughts or put-down thoughts, that there's a physiological, a biochemical response that occurs, of brain chemistry, very similar. Well, it's a stress response, and it's the fight, flight, or freeze response created by the amygdala, a little part in the midbrain, which has a lot of impact on our emotions. And it is the proverbial fire alarm in the brain going, something's wrong. So self-criticism triggers the fight. Self-criticism actually creates an argument in our own brain with our own self. And the response that is helpful is self-kindness. The flight part is that of isolation. And the self-compassion response to that is helpful is common humanity. Our awareness and our sense of that common humanity really helps. It's a salve for that sense of isolation. In the freeze, response gets triggered by rumination or repeated thoughts that are distressful. And again, maybe self-deprecating. And these repeating pattern thoughts, which can be just keep us from moving forward, keep us from, or thoughts that we're not worthy, we don't deserve. It keeps us from moving forward. And the salve for that rumination is mindfulness. As we know, that can help get us out of the trap that we might be stuck in. So this little series that I found is, you can find it on the internet too. So if those of you don't want to take notes and want to just look it up, it's by the Center for Mindfulness Studies. It's actually a group out of Toronto. And I just Googled mindfulness and self-compassion and found them. And it's an 8-session workshop that we're going to go through. And we're going to go through the first 4 this week and then to go to the next 4 next week. Session 1 is about discovering self-compassion. So how do we kind of wrap our brain around getting there? So the first exercise is, how would you treat a friend? How do you respond to a friend when they are struggling? What do you say? What do you do? What's your tone? And then how do you treat yourself when you're struggling? What do you say? What do you do? What is your tone? So for practice, this is something that, again, you may want to do throughout the week, is notice how you speak to yourself throughout the day. What language do you use? And we're going to get to this, and practice soothing touch twice daily. And use a self-compassion break when you become aware of distress. So the soothing touch there's quite a bit of options here. But we're going to do hand on heart. And I think it's something that we at Unity we're kind of familiar with. You can do butterfly hug. There's quite a few different ways that you can do it. But you can give yourself a gentle hug or a caress, or simply put your hand on your heart, feel the warmth of your hand. Again, initially it may feel awkward or embarrassing, but there's a lot of biology to it. The heart, when we were babies, our moms put us on their chest, and our dads. And that feeling of the heartbeat produced brain chemistry of feeling safe, secure, being loved. Oxytocin is the biochemistry, that chemical that is produced. and it's a soothing biochemistry. So that's the purpose. So to do hands-on heart, simply notice when you're under stress and take a couple of cleansing breaths, whatever is comfortable for you. It could be deep or not deep, but just whatever it is you use to get centered and calm. Gently place your hand over your heart, feeling the gentle pressure and warmth of your hand. If you wish, place both hands on your chest, noticing the difference between one and or two hands. Feel the touch of your hand on your chest. And if you wish, make small circles of your hand on your chest. Feel the natural rising and falling of your chest as you breathe in and as you breathe out. And linger with that feeling for as long as you like. So again, we talked about doing this twice daily as just exercise to create a little bit of a groove so that it's accessible to us. So the self-compassion break, bring to mind an interaction with someone that where you didn't feel comfortable with it. It was uncomfortable moderately, not severe, not something that's going to potentially overwhelm you, but just something that maybe you got irritated with. And visualize that experience or that moment in time until you feel just a little bit uncomfortable. Now say to yourself, this is a moment of suffering, which is a form of mindfulness, that acknowledgement. And suffering is a part of life, and that's the common humanity piece. Put your hands on your heart. Feel the warmth of your hands and the gentle pressure of your hands. And notice your chest rhythmically rising and falling beneath your hand. Now say to yourself, may I be kind to myself. May I accept myself just as I am. And those are self-kindness statements. For the last one or two phrases, you can use, there's many that you can choose from and you can make up for yourself as well, for sure. For instance, may I be safe. May I forgive myself. May I be happy and free from suffering. May I safely endure this pain. May I find peace in my heart. May I be strong. May I protect myself. May I learn to live with ease and well-being. May I accept the circumstances of my life, and may we learn to live together in peace. So, since a lot of our relationship with ourselves is cognitive or thought, that's a form of language. So one of the pieces and the exercises on this is self-compassion language. So in order to get into this, we have some questions to ask ourselves. What types of things do we typically judge and criticize ourselves for? For instance, appearance, career, relationships, parenting. And what language do you use with yourself when you notice a flaw or a mistake, or if you make a mistake? And kind of track that a bit. And then how could you reframe the language in a more kind, supportive, and understanding way to remember that you're only human, to acknowledge things as they are without blowing them out of proportion and without having to find anyone to blame. Just acknowledging that they are as they are. And so as you go about your day, try to be aware so that you can then replace any kind of self-harsh statements, if criticism or deprecation, and do the reframe to a less judgmental place. So practicing mindfulness, this is the second session here. So mindfulness requires 3 skills. Intention, or being on purpose, is 1. Being in the present moment is 2. And doing so non-judgmentally is the 3rd. And that's it. So for our purposes, and getting into the self-compassion, we're going to practice affectionate breathing, and we're going to have a daily practice of compassionate movement, and we're going to practice with the here and now stone, particularly if we're aware of any kind of distress. And we're also going to tune into a mindful activity where at least each day really focus in on an activity in a very mindful way, even if it's just for a few minutes, brushing your teeth, for example. So one way of doing this is to do the compassionate body scan. This is a guided meditation that many of us have done body scans before and are familiar with them. And Sue even has done them, pieces of them, during the meditation in church, where we start with one part of the body and kind of come down into the heart, and sometimes we'll do a little bit more or less depending on the amount of time that you want to spend. So the difference with the compassionate body scan is that, okay, you'll start with your feet. You notice what your feet feel like. Are they warm or cool, dry or moist? Do you notice any discomfort there? If so, mentally soften the area as if you were placing a warm towel on it. And if you wish, bring some compassion to the area with words like, there's a little pain there, it's okay, it's okay. And as if you are that other person, that other friend, that considerate other who's providing you with support. And that awareness of suffering. And then responding with kindness, that is compassion. Just feel the sensations of the body, pleasure, pain, or nothing at all, and let every sensation be just as it is. Now bring a measure of gratitude to your feet. Your feet have such a small surface area, and yet they hold your entire body all day long. They work hard for us, and we rarely pay any attention to them. If your feet feel good today, you can also extend gratitude for the discomfort that you don't have. And if you have more time, go ahead and extend this loving attention from one toe to the next and then onto other body parts as you choose. Compassionate walking meditation. Again, walking meditation many of us are familiar with. And this one you can, take 10 minutes or longer. You start by standing still to kind of anchor your attention to your body and be aware of yourself in the standing posture and feel the body. Recall that every living being wants to live peacefully and happily. Connect with that deep wish. Just as all beings wish to be happy and free from suffering, may I be happy and free from suffering. Begin walking. Note yourself moving from a space in the upright position, feeling sensations of your body, noting sensations of your feet and the wind in your face. Keep your eyes softly focused and walk at a normal pace. After walking for a few minutes, repeat the loving kindness phrases to yourself. May I be safe. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I live with ease. The phrases will keep your attention anchored in your body and start to evoke the attitude of loving kindness. Try to synchronize the phrases with each step or with each breath. And then you also have the option to shorten the phrases to a single word. Safe, happy, healthy, ease. Or even just love, love, love. When your mind wanders, gently return to the phrases. If you find yourself hastening to your destination, slow down and refocus on your purpose. And do this with kindness, especially a feeling of gratitude towards your feet for supporting your entire body. Appreciate the marvel of walking. After a few minutes, expand loving kindness to others. When someone catches your attention, say to yourself, may you and I be safe. May you and I be happy. May you and I be healthy. May you and I live with ease. You may also just say, may you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. Or just the single words. Eventually, you can include all forms of life in the circle of your loving kindness and allow yourself to receive expressions of kindness that may come your way. At the end of the walking period, stand still for a moment and repeat, may all beings be happy and free from suffering. Before you go to your next activity. Next skill is affectionate breathing. Find a nice, comfortable place. So you're sitting in a way that your bones are supported and muscles don't need any effort to remain in one position for this exercise. Now bring your attention to your breathing. Let your eyelids gently close or partially close, whatever you're more comfortable with. Again, pay attention to your breathing. Pay attention to where you notice your breathing most easily. Some people feel it at the nostrils, perhaps as a cool breeze on the upper lip. Other people feel the chest rising and falling. Still others feel the breath most clearly in the abdomen, as the belly expands with every in-breath and contracts with every out-breath. Gently explore your body and discover where your breathing is easiest to notice. Just feel your breath for a while. When you notice that your mind has wandered, bring yourself back to the breath. Some people find it easier to only pay attention to part of the breath cycle. For instance, the exhale or the inhale. And then Just take a little vacation. Just wait for the in-breath or the out-breath to return, whichever part you feel more strongly. Feel that breath and then wait again for it to return. Let your body breathe you. It does it automatically anyways. Put your hand on your heart for a moment to remind yourself that you will be bringing kind attention to your breathing. Be aware of how your breath nourishes you, whether you are paying attention to it or not. It's been with you since birth, and it will be until death. More loyal than your closest companion. Allow yourself to appreciate this automatic process that sustains our life. Wherever you go, see if you can incline towards your breathing like a mother might incline towards a beloved child, with curiosity and gratitude. Your mind will wander away from the sensation of the breath many times every minute. And don't worry about how often your mind wanders. Gently return to the feeling of your breathing when you notice that your mind has wandered. Now, just for a moment, rest in the experience of your body. Then slowly reopen your eyes. Okay, the here and now stone. Any sense object brings us to the present moment and out of the sorrows of the past and the worries of the future, as long as we are aware of the moment-to-moment experience of the object. So find a stone that you really enjoy holding and feeling. And if you notice that you're having a time when you're emotionally upset, find your stone and bring your attention to the sensation of touching the stone. You can also enjoy the sight of the stone, especially if Mary's painted on it. And you can choose to focus on how it looks in that moment. Slowly savor how the stone feels in your hand, turning it around in your fingers. Contemplate how ancient that it might be, almost as old as the earth itself, in contrast to our soft and tender bodies that just last a few decades. Know that you can reach for this stone and experience a mini vacation in the present moment anytime you're feeling distress or agitation. So practicing loving kindness meditation or metta meditation. Daily practice is a loving kindness towards a benefactor. And notice situations where there is criticism towards yourself or another, and see if you can soften that criticism. And practice using your own phrases when distress arises. The affectionate breathing, which we've already gone through, is one of the skills. And loving kindness meditation for beginners, which essentially we start with just regular meditation, focusing on the breath. Put your hands on your heart, hand or hands, and come to mind a person or other living being who naturally makes you smile. This could be a child, a grandmother, a grandchild, a cat or a dog, whoever it is that just brings happiness to your heart. Perhaps it's a bird outside the window. Let yourself feel what it's like to be in that being's presence. Allow yourself to enjoy the good company. Now recognize how vulnerable this loved one is, just like you, subject to sickness, aging, and death. And also, this being wishes to be happy and free from suffering, just like you and every other living being. Repeat softly, feeling the importance of your words. May you be safe. May you be peaceful. May you be healthy. May you live with ease. When you notice your mind has wandered, return back to the words. And the image, in the image of the loved one that you have in mind. Savor any warm feelings that may arise and go slow. Next, add yourself to the circle of goodwill. May you and I be safe. May you and I be peaceful. May you and I be healthy. May you and I live with ease. And visualize your whole body in your mind's eye. Just a very quick body scan. Just as if you're just looking down on where you are right now sitting. And may I be safe. May I be peaceful. May I be healthy. May I be at ease. Take a few breaths and just rest and sit quietly in your own body, savoring the goodwill and compassion that flows naturally from your own heart. Know that you can return to the phrases anytime you wish. And when you're done, gently open your eyes. The next skill is adapted from Dr. Tara Brach. Exercises, what do I need? Bring to mind some difficulty you're experiencing in your life currently. Sit for a few moments and play the situation out in your mind. Focus your awareness on any thoughts, feelings, or sensations or emotions that arise. And ask yourself, what am I experiencing right now? Allow the thoughts, feelings, emotions, and sensations to be there. And notice any aversive or uncomfortable reactions. Investigate your experience with a gentle curiosity. Ask yourself, what most wants my attention? How am I experiencing this in my body? What am I believing? And what does this feeling want from me? And then expand your awareness to the entire body. So if there's, and this is about listening deeply to yourself, which when we have a friend who listens to us and we feel understood, that kind of feeling that we get, something that we can give to ourselves when we do this exercise. The next exercise is from Dr. Kristen Neff, which is adapted from her. Freedom from blame. Think about a trait you often judge yourself for, and that is an important part of your self-definition. And then ask yourself the following questions. How often do I display this trait? And who are you when you don't display this trait? Are you still you? Are there particular circumstances where it seem to draw the trait out? Or others in which the trait is, and other situations where, or in circumstances where the trait doesn't seem to be apparent? And does this trait really define you if particular circumstances are not present? And or does this trait really define you if particular circumstances are required for this trait to emerge? And what are various causes and conditions that led to having the trait in the first place? Early life experiences, genetics, life pressures? Did you choose to have this trait? And do you have much choice about whether or not you display it? And if not, why are you judging yourself for this trait? And then what happens when you reframe your self-description so that you're not defining yourself in terms of this trait? The last couple of exercises are about finding your self-compassionate voice. So, as we did before, you start with just centering and be aware of some uncomfortable situation or feelings, and then softly repeat the phrases, may I be safe, may I be peaceful, may I be kind to myself, may I accept myself as I am. So basically it's that self-compassion, loving kindness and self-compassion, mindfulness, and listening for that inner voice that is kinder, gentler, more compassionate. Equanimity phrases. Everyone is on his or her own life journey. I am not the cause of this person's suffering, nor is it entirely within my powers to take it away from them. And although this moment is difficult to bear, I will help to the extent that I can. Forgiveness phrases. May I forgive you for what you have done, wittingly or unwittingly, that caused me harm. And may I forgive myself for what I may have done, wittingly or unwittingly, that caused you harm. And that's just a kind of an ongoing practice that we can do to, and also come up with other phrases written by other people or that we write ourselves. That work. The last skill or practice is a compassionate letter to myself. So first step is everyone has something about themselves that they don't like. Something that causes them to feel shame, to feel insecure, or not good enough. It's a human condition to be imperfect. And feelings of failure and inadequacy are part of the experience of living a human life. Try writing about an issue you have that tries to make you feel inadequate, or that tends to make you feel inadequate, or bad about yourself, either physical appearance, work, relationship issues. And how does this aspect of yourself make you feel inside? Scared, sad, depressed, insecure, angry? And what emotions come up for you when you think about this subject of yourself, this aspect of yourself? This is just between you and the paper, so you might as well just be honest, especially emotionally honest, as possible, so you can try to avoiding it. While at the same time, not being overly dramatic, not trying to make them more than what they are, but just your emotions exactly as they are, no more, no less, and then just write about them. Now think about an imaginary friend who is unconditionally loving, accepting, kind, and compassionate. Imagine that this friend can see all of your strengths and all of your weaknesses, including the aspect of yourself that you have just been writing about. Reflect about what this friend feels towards you and how you are loved and accepted exactly as you are, with all of your very human imperfections. This friend recognizes the limits of human nature and is kind and forgiving towards you. In his or her great wisdom, this friend understands your life history and the millions of things that have happened in your life to create you as you are in this moment. Your particular inadequacy is connected to so many things that you don't necessarily choose. Your genes, your family history, life circumstances, things that were at many times outside of your control. Write a letter from yourself to yourself from the perspective of this imaginary friend, focusing on the perceived inadequacy you tend to judge yourself for. What would this friend say to you about your flaw from the perspective of unlimited compassion? How would this friend convey the deep compassion he or she feels for you, especially for the pain you feel when you judge yourself so harshly? And what would this friend write in order to remind you that you are only human, that all people have both strengths and weaknesses? And if you think this friend would suggest possibly changes you should make, how would these suggestions embody feelings of unconditional understanding and compassion? After writing this letter, put it down for a little while, then come back and read it again, really letting the words soak in. Feel the compassion that it pours into you, soothing and comforting like a cool breeze on a hot day. Love, connection, and acceptance are your birthright. To claim them, you need only to look within yourself. Namaste.